Hey everybody, Gucci here. Welcome back to the High Performance Zone. Today, we have the co-founder of Jocko Fuel. This is the mad scientist behind the science and health of supplements. We get into what Jocko Go is, which is a new energy drink, or it's out there for about a year, but what's really behind it, and Jocko Greens, how to make this stuff not taste like dirt. But above all, what we're really talking about is high performance in your life, and nutrition is one part of that. So dive in with Gucci. We'll talk about the nutritional side. We'll talk about the energy side. We talk about how this gets you to check your ego at the door, how the complacency can set in, how to grow a business. And above all else, he says he leaves it with surround yourself with the people you want to be. And that's what Brian Littlefield, the mad scientist, has done. Here we go. Gucci, hit it. Hey everybody, I am so excited about today because I have the co-founder of Jocko Fuel, Brian Littlefield. And by the way, Brian, this isn't just about, health and wellness. This is about high performance in every aspect of our lives. And I know that you apply that in so many ways. So my first thing is, nice bald head. You're looking like Gucci, and we're going to get you a call sign, but welcome to the High Performance Zone. And what does that mean to you, high performance?
Oh man. What's funny is I'm a motorhead at heart too. I grew up in the motorsports world, and, it just means, we named our energy drink Go, yes. and that's really what it means.
Hey, show that again. Those of you who are watching this on YouTube, man, this is the best energy drink. Go. Got it. Keep going, buddy.
And that's it. You know what I mean? It's just going, not stopping. I like to say all gas, no brakes. It's just, you just got to put it down and not let off sometimes. And, just do anything you have. Like, you got to push past your limits and your boundaries.
Yeah.
And like we connected about a second ago, and push past complacency and,
yes.
and those comfort zones to just keep going. That's our motto, is just keep going, just go. So that's high performance to me, is like, that's the mentality, but it's built on a structure though. And that structure has to be done so through, taking care of your body, taking care of your mind, taking care of your people and your community within your network. So yeah, I could go on a diatribe, but
well, let's unpack it together, because you just said some very powerful stuff, and I want to kind of tee up this podcast for everybody that, that's what we're going to do. We're going to unpack someone who actually knows high performance and the nutrition side of it. I'm really interested in the science behind what you guys are doing, because you're making a huge difference. But also what you just said is it's just one piece of higher performance, right? There's the physical aspect, the Jiu-Jitsu. We'll talk about that. The camps you guys have. We'll talk about the business side, because I think it's important to understand the business side of how we did this, how you're doing it rather. And then the community and the give back side. I didn't expect you to say that. And I thought that's super cool that, why are we doing this? Get to the why, but before the how. So with that, what's created your passion? I got two questions, and then we're going to just dive in, right? I'm curious to see about your passion in this, right? And then how did you connect with your partners, Jocko, and you putting this together? And then the last thing I kind of want to know here on the beginning is where you guys headed, because you're already out there doing an amazing job. So first off, maybe why is this your passion? How did that all start?
Yeah, it's interesting. I grew up in a very competitive household. I was the youngest of actually split families, but the youngest of 4 total brothers, 3 brothers older than me, quite a bit. They were both all 3 of them were like sports, like great at sports, in great shape, did pretty good in school. The one closest to me of age did really good in school. And, I was also really close with a first cousin of mine who was a professional athlete, like just a lot of like physical performance. And I probably didn't get the genetic gift on that side of things. I grew up as a chubby kid, even though I was playing sports. And
so my research team said 255 pounds of mess, right? Is that true? What is that?
265, actually.
265.
Yeah. And I was, very, it wasn't 265 pounds of muscle. Let's put it that way. So yeah, no, it was a very unhealthy 265 pounds. So I grew up in a competitive household, 3 older brothers closer to me. They were all sports people, and I, was kind of in their shadows, but I was the chubby kid growing up, and I was kind of like that, all the way till my 20s. And what happened was I stopped playing sports in high school. I went off to college, ballooned up, gained a ton of weight, and ended up being 265 pounds. And then I call it I had an appointment with my doctor. He's, a regular checkup, and he's like, hey man, like you're and you're in your early 20s, you have pre-hypertension, like your blood sugar's not good. Like you need to like get shit figured out. And so, okay. And even in your early 20s, you hear that and you're like, I took it serious, but I didn't
right
necessarily. But what's kind of funny is a switch happened, and I was living off campus with some roommates, and I decided, I was like, okay, I'm gonna get back into this. I used to be an athlete. I used to be into sports. I'm just gonna go to the gym. And it's awkward when you haven't been to the gym in a very long time, and you're just gonna decide to go back to the gym. So I was like, I'm just gonna go to the gym. So I did what I would do. I go get a gym bag. I go get some gym gear, and I'm like, I'm going to get into it. And that's kind of how I am. If I pick a lane and go down it, I'll take it very serious. Typically that's kind of my style. And, so that's what I did. And I don't know, like started going to the gym, and a couple days in, my roommates of mine, college roommates, kids, sitting around, they're drinking. I grab my gym bag, I come downstairs, and I remember they like cracked a joke about me going to the gym. And that's when I realized, like, the switch just happened. I was like, I'm not them, and I'm not going to be them, and I'm going to change the way I am living. And it happened like that. And I started taking it very serious. So I started going to the gym, started taking it very serious. I'm also a nerd in the sense of I always ended up going to school for motorsports, worked on a race team, went back to school for business because I, really wanted to be on the business side of things. In that time period is when I was falling in love with fitness and working out. But I have always thrived in the sciences.
Nice.
I probably would have naturally succeeded in that direction. I have a lot of family that are in the medical field, and everybody kind of thought I was going to go that way. Well, I found myself getting done with my coursework as quick as possible and staying up all night reading about clinical literature on nutraceuticals and supplements and all the things that you can do to help amplify, because I'm all about certainly not finding a hack, but about kind of like a force multiplier. Like, how can I leverage what I'm doing here at the gym? Like proper diet, proper sleep, proper nutraceutical care. So I just dove into it like crazy. And
so what time frame are we talking? What years? 2000 and what? 2000 what?
2007 through 2009 was when I went back to school in 2007. Yep. I'm in Ohio. I start getting on the path about 2008. And for about a year, all I did was go to the gym, eat healthy, work out, and just read every piece of literature I could about everything I could. And it worked. I lost a lot of weight. But at that gym, there was this little box, like a little hole in the wall room where I would see these guys, as I like to call it, wrestling in pajamas.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so finally, one of the guys, I used to go into the university's cafe, and this guy behind the counter would always say, hey man, like I always see you working out. And he would always hook me up. I'd get like a big plate of cheese and meat, and like I'd be eating high protein, low carb. And he would always hook me up. And he just, every time I went in, he wouldn't leave me alone. He's like, you got to come train with us. Come train with us. And I was like, finally, one day he convinced me. And here I was, I had lost like probably 35, 40 pounds. I was I was probably like 220, 225, but I'd also put on a fair amount of muscle at that time because I was working out. And I felt good. I felt big. I felt strong. And I went in and I trained and I got on the mats. And it's that classic story of having this 16-year-old kid that's been training for 5 years and climbs on your back and chokes the hell out of you. And you're just like, what was this? What is this, trickery? And, they say it's a filter. Your ego can either handle it and you become absolutely obsessed with it day one, or you never come back again. And I was obsessed. I was like, I need to learn this and I need to learn it quick. And
this is jiu-jitsu.
This is Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
Brazilian. Now, okay. I want to get to what is the essence of Brazilian jiu-jitsu, but I want to, for our audience, is you take this experience and you turn it into a huge business with Jocko. Right. Yeah. Okay. And you guys are making a difference with supplements and all in the academy you guys run or, out there. So let's speed ahead real quick. And what I'm trying to get at is, okay, so what's the trigger that went from what you just explained to where you are now? Yes. When did that occur?
Yeah. So I'm training, I get to the point where I'm teaching.
Yep.
I then open up a supplement store adjacent to the academy. I'm running the academy. Everything fast forward. It's going really quickly. I graduated business school and I decide to come back to Maine to see family. And I decide to train, and I go train and I meet Pete Roberts and I walk into the original Origin factory when there was only literally a couple employees. And I walk in and there's a loom running with like 4,000 individual parts moving up and down in synchrony. I'm like, what the hell is this? I'm like, this is insane. So I talked to him and I'm like, hey man, I want to help you do this thing, because he was making jiu-jitsu gis here in America.
Oh.
And that had never been done before. It'd never been done before. But
so what was he making again?
The Brazilian jiu-jitsu gis, the uniforms.
The uniform, that gis, that's what I didn't understand. Got it. Yeah.
Gis,
got it.
The kimono. Yeah. And he was making them here, and he was making like 7 a week or something at the time. Like it was so, it was so in its infancy, but we partnered quickly and I helped him grow the sales side of the business from where I was in Ohio. I built a wholesale division for it, introduced it to tons of academies and pro shops and things like that. And it just got to a point one day where he's like, man, you're selling more of these on your spare time than I can even make. Would you ever consider moving back to Maine, where you're from, and helping me build this thing? And I was like, hell yeah, let's go. I said, but I want to, like, in Brazilian jiu-jitsu, it's very much about performance, mental and physical performance.
Great.
Because it's like human chess. I was like, we need to do nutrition at some point. So I come back 4 months later, we're already doing nutrition. So we had bought a little micro brand within the jiu-jitsu community, merged the companies. And then a year later, we get introduced to Jocko, and Jocko didn't even know we were doing nutrition. He came on board because he wanted to get involved in the American manufacturing. But being a jiu-jitsu guy, being a high performance guy, a former Navy SEAL, he was like, I've always wanted to do nutrition, but do it the right way. And he was so tainted from the experiences he had back in the day with all the consumer reports that came out. And he's just like, can we do it right? And I was like, of course. Like, of course, we just have to put people before profits. That's it. So if you're force ranking your priorities, you got to put the people before profits, and we can do it. It should still be a profitable business.
Yep.
But you can't be greedy, and you have to put that first. And as long as we always put them first, that'll always be the filter within how we refine things, and we'll be successful. So that was it. And it was like a match made in heaven. Yeah.
So how do you do supplements or nutrition right? And you guys started on that path, or on that path right now.
Yeah. So it started off as some fundamental things, like we're not going to use illegal ingredients. We're not going to use gray area ingredients. We are going to create formulas that actually work. So every formula we have, every ingredient has some level of clinical research that backs its use. It's not just in there because it's trending on TikTok or trending on Instagram. Like it's just going viral. So we started as a number of these foundations. We ended up kind of creating this this flow of filter of like, these are the things we want to do. And of course, we, in the nutritional world, because in the manufacturing side of things, everything is made here in America without compromise. On the nutritional world, many of the things you just can't simply get because they're native to, the Himalayas or even China and Asia, like monk fruit. So those particular
Which, by the way, monk fruit is your key ingredient, right? One of the keys for taste.
It is key. It's our primary sweetener that we've used over the past 6 years.
And why did you pick monk fruit? Because sweeteners is such an interesting topic, right? And why'd you guys pick that?
Yeah. So again, we started with kind of a process of elimination. Jocko didn't want to use artificial sweeteners. Neither did I. So we were very much aligned there. We really didn't want to use sugar alcohols, even though they're considered natural, because when they're not in the actual fruit, and that's where they come from, the sugar alcohols, when they're not in the actual fruit and they're standalone, they tend to cause like gut disruption. So they cause like gas and bloating in a large portion of the population. So then it really left stevia and monk fruit as natural alternatives. And back then, the only stevia version was Reb A, and that was a very basic version of the ingredient, and it left a lot of aftertaste. It wasn't very good.
Yeah.
And monk fruit itself was, in our opinion, better tasting. But the beautiful thing was, it was the only, like, if you draw a line and you said what's healthy and what's not healthy below, monk fruit's the only one that actually has health claims, that shows that it actually has health benefits, like anti-inflammatory, and helps promote healthy aging and helps promote heart health. In Asia, they've used it for centuries for health reasons, not just as a sweetener, but as health benefits. So we were like, hey, hands down, let's do it. Of course, at the time, we didn't know it was going to be $400 a kilo compared to, you go in and buy a pound of sugar, it's like, what, $6. So the cost is more expensive, but again, it fit within our priority, right? People before the profit. So.
Yeah. And in fact, I was, doing some research on you, and the idea of quality, not price, is what matters, right? So what you're saying. So what was the first product that you decided to make?
Yeah. And so the first product we decided to make was the first one Jocko wanted, essentially. So we came out with a krill oil and a joint support product, because he wanted to make products like most companies, they'll launch a line of products. Like they come out with a whole assortment. And he's like, no, I'm just going to make the products I want. And if people want to take them, that's cool. And we knew people would, but he's just like, I want to make our own krill, because I take krill oil, and let's make a joint support product, because look at what he's put his body through. Right. And, and he's aging. So he's like, I need something for joint support. And we put together a really great joint support formula.
And what do you call it?
Joint warfare.
Joint warfare. See, so you get into the cool names too. Yeah. That's the other thing we're going to unpack, where these names come from. So I'm not familiar with krill oil. Why krill oil?
Yeah. So krill oil it's a crustacean. So there's fish oil predominantly, and then there's krill oil. And don't get me wrong, fish oil is phenomenal, and everybody should be on some level of fish or krill oil and omega-3. But krill itself does have benefits. It is more bioavailable, so your body utilizes it better. It has a higher phospholipid content, which is good for the brain, and it has astaxanthin. And astaxanthin is something like 4,000 times more powerful as an antioxidant than vitamin C. So, and most fish it don't have that. So it's really like, basically think of it as a super omega in krill oil. And that's why we ended up going with krill.
And then as far as, because by the way, I take some joint supplement too, and I need that, right? I mean, same thing, football player in college, Blue Angel working out and, injuries. So, right knee cartilage injury. So what does the actual joint supplement do for your body, and why is it so important?
So the biggest thing that you're going to notice is that, and we have to tiptoe around what we say, right? Because like we can't make certain claims, but here's the best way I can put it. When the number one response we get from our customers is, I didn't realize how much I loved joint warfare until I like let my subscription lapse and I stopped taking it. And all the aches and pains and stuff I dealt with for years that I had forgotten about came back. And really what it does is, and the thing that I can say is, it helps promote a healthy inflammatory response. Whether you have a nagging injury from years of abuse, or an injury because you literally fell, you know what I mean? Like, it helps promote the healthy inflammatory biomarkers, and inflammation is good. Like, actually, it helps with healing process, but too much inflammation is bad, and you got to keep it in check. And the ingredients in Joint Warfare do a really good job at that.
Oh, that's so cool. You know, I'm so glad you said inflammation is good, because normally what I read out there and what I hear is that inflammation is bad, right? Mm-hmm. And you qualified that with, you know, it depends, right? If you have an acute injury, that's bringing, I guess, blood and whatnot. The inflammation is bringing, you know, intention to that area, right? But it's the inflammation that is just pervasive in our bodies, right? That we want to try to bring down. Did I get that right? You're the scientist. You tell me.
You're 100% right. It's like almost everything else in life, right? It's about balance.
Yeah.
There has to be an appropriate balance. And if you don't have enough inflammation after an injury, you're not bringing the appropriate blood flow. You know, that's why they've started to back off on the ice part of the rice. They're like, oh man, maybe we were doing more damage than good, because the ice was helping more with pain than it actually was with healing. So right. there is an absolute balance with that. So you want some inflammation, but you don't want too much, because when it gets out of hand, that's when it becomes its own problem.
Yeah. And that's so many things, not just in your joints, right? It can affect your brain, can affect your moods. It can affect inflammation, you know, is really challenging. Okay. Hey, by the way, have you ever heard of BFR, blood flow restriction training? You've ever done that?
Is that with the masks, or
no? It's usually a PT thing where they'll put it on your legs or your arms, and they're cuffs, and they measure. Yeah.
I have. Yes. I don't have a ton of experience with it, but that's pretty crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I had it with, I was doing some stem cell replacements therapy in my knee, and we were recovering from that. And so we did this BFR, and for everybody, you know, what it does is they measure, they put a cuff on you, you know, up high in your thighs, and then they restrict 80% of the blood flow coming back. Right. And that's like a mini tourniquet, right? So it hurts. Mm-hmm. I mean, it doesn't hurt too bad, but then you exercise while that restriction is in place, usually from anywhere from 4 to 7 minutes. And I'm talking, you know, squats or curls, whatever, because you can do it on your arms. But that hurts, you know, and I actually I think pain is good in some ways, right? No pain, no gain. But you have to be, you know, supervised and all this. And then you release it, right? And it's usually 3 sets of 30, that kind of stuff. And when that blood flow releases, it's amazing how good you feel. And I'm not sure about the science behind it, but they are finding that you can get greater growth with less pressure on the joints, right? That's something you might want to check it out. I kind of like it, and it looks cool too while you're doing it, right? I mean, you're working out. Well, okay, cool. Let's get back to, because I'd rather hear from you. So, okay, we got it. We got the joint warfare, and you and Jocko, and it sounds like Jocko's heavily involved in the vision of this company, right?
He absolutely is. Yeah. You know, I mean, he, of course he's running, you know, he's doing his Echelon Front business. He's doing a lot of different stuff. So he's not in the day-to-day weeds, of course, but,
which is what you do, right? Or not? Have you graduated from that COO?
I've graduated a little bit from it. I'm thankful we now have a kick-ass executive team that I get to work with. Nice. But I get to focus now less on operations, less on finance. You know, in the early days, you know, it was really in the early days, it was Pete and I in the office in the very, very infancy of it. And then it grew, and then first employee, and then second, and then so on and so on and so on. So now we have a kick-ass executive team. I don't have to focus on finance and operations, things like that. I can literally just build products, talk about the science, talk about the marketing and positioning, and connect with our consumer, which is the stuff that I love to do.
So how long did it take you guys? Because a lot of this podcast too is about building high performance teams and in business. So how long did that take? And what is the size of your team now, the executive team and the people?
So that's a great question. So we started off with our first, I would call, professional hire, and that was our CFO, Don Miller. And that was an uncomfortable one for Pete and I, as as founders and active members of the team, like, to bring in someone and then to hand over the finances, like, as our first professional hire. It took a lot of team building and trust, and we had to find the right person, and we were very picky. We did that, and that helped us grow. It helped us realize, okay, we can open up to people that aren't part of our circle. Like, we need to, and we can. We've gotten over that hurdle. Now let's move forward. And then we ended up bringing on
CFO. This is good for me, because your CFO wasn't just handling the revenue and expensive. He was part of the growth process. Who can we bring on? How do we fund the expansion? Is that true? Is that what you really?
Oh, yeah. We brought him in. He helped. I mean, we needed someone to come in and have those high level negotiations with the banks to bring on working capital, to expand our lines of credit, to do the thing, because we were growing rapidly to the point where, like any blitz scaling business, our cash flow wasn't keeping up with our demand. Like, we were highly profitable. The revenue was growing, doubling, tripling a year over year, but the cash flow keeping up with the inventory growth, and then needing to move into a bigger warehouse and adding team members, like, always chasing cash. So he was essential in being able to do that, helping maintain profitability, making sure that that the fiduciary responsibilities were just on point, and having those conversations with the bank, because the bank is not your enemy, it's your friend. If you are in business and you have that mentality that the bank is your enemy, like, you're going to struggle. They are there to be leveraged, and build a relationship with the bank.
Nice. So what happened after that? So you bring him on. Now they got 3 of you in the executive rank. What was the next progression?
Yeah. So our next one was Chief Revenue Officer. We brought in as head of sales, and he helped take us into the world of, food, drug, mass, convenience. Like, we landed our first retail relationship with Vitamin Shoppe. We did a nationwide launch, and we did it, like, very prematurely. We didn't really know what we were doing. Thankfully, it worked out for us, but we quickly realized, okay, we need to bring in someone who's done this before, who's built accounts, who's built teams around sales, and to be able to go as fast as we want to go, because we're trying to go fast. Like, we're trying to get, and it's part of our mission.
That's your product go, right, man? We talked about that at the beginning. Exactly. So got it.
We're trying to go fast.
So that happens. And where are you now? I mean, and how fast did all this take?
Yeah, absolutely. So now we've brought in another COO who's handling all of operations. And our newest hire is head of brand and marketing. So a chief brand officer. So he's leading up the brand and marketing side of things for Jocko Fuel. So we've filled our C-suite, and we're ready to really take over. That's how we feel. Like, we're at that point right now where we're very deep in conversations with some really big retailers, and we're in a point where it's, we see it's going to go Richter, and we're going to fulfill our mission, which Jocko's original mission was to bring clean products to the masses. We want it at their fingertips. And we want to go in, and every category that we enter, whether it's energy drinks or, ready to drink protein, supplements, protein powder, we're going to offer them a cleaner, higher quality, more efficacious product to disrupt that particular market. And we've built the products, we have them, we've built the supply, the sales are, like, right at the cusp, and we're, like, ready to just, we're right there. We're excited, if you obviously can tell. So
yeah, it's that hockey stick, right? I can feel all the work that's come into that. All right, let's as far as the clean products, and by the way, I'm with you. How do you be like eating greens? I think one of your green products, right?
Yeah.
I love the idea, because it's hard for me. I'll be straight with you. I know it's good for me. I wish I had more greens. I got my green smoothie right here. doesn't look totally green, but it is. And, I throw in those kales and stuff, but I find that's hard to do on a consistent manner. And, I love the idea of you guys. What's your product that you bring in the greens, right? In order to quickly get that into your body.
Well, have you tried our greens product yet?
No, in fact,
okay.
In fact, you don't need to send me. I'm going to buy it. Okay. You just got to tell me where to go.
Okay. I will tell you and everyone else where to go. Here's the deal with greens. I never met a single person who's like, I love my greens.
Right.
I look forward to having my greens every morning. And when I told Jocko, because we got to a point, obviously, where I was like, Jocko, like, we've built the products you want. I'm going to have to now, so that we can serve the needs, I will build products and serve them to him. And if he likes them, we move forward. And what happened was I pitched him the idea of doing greens. And I was like, hey, I think we should do a greens product. We're getting a lot of requests for it. And I believe I can make a better product. And he's like, why? And he's like, I don't really like the idea of green, because greens aren't sexy. They're not, like, we know we need more greens. Right. Especially him, like, he eats steak and, he'll have a Caesar salad every once in a while, but he's a steak and potatoes kind of guy. And I'm like, man, we need to get you
Me
some
too,
greens.
by the way. And by the way, my wife has been trying to get me more into greens for years. And it's not easy, right? Because I love my meat and potatoes. So keep going. I love where we're going on this, because there's probably a lot of people listening that are going, yeah, I'm like Brian. And by the way, Gucci's my call sign. We're gonna get you a call sign by the end of the show. Now, Sugar, who you talked to coming in, he's calling you Mr. Big. All right. That's the call sign that he gave you already, which is a kind of cool one. But we'll see if you get a better one or a different one by the end of the show. Awesome. But go for it. So you're bringing in greens. What's happening?
So I'm like, Jocko, listen, like, we'll do all the things we normally do on the product. Like, we'll use a transparent label, so we don't use a proprietary blend. So it's not going to be like, first ingredient, the cheapest filler ingredient, and then a sprinkling of everything else. Because unfortunately in the industry, that's what a proprietary blend hides. So we'll use a transparent formula, so you can see exactly, how much broccoli sprouts or banana powder or, blueberry or pomegranate, whatever it is that you're looking, kale, whatever it is you're looking for, exactly how much you're getting in that product. So that's important for people.
Yes.
Then of course, natural sweetener. But what I told him was, here's how we're going to make the product special. We're going to actually make greens that don't taste like dirt. And he's like, well, how are we going to do that? And I said, just let me do it. I'll send them to you. You tell me. And it was a win. Like, it was just a win. And, I claim that we have the best tasting greens on the market right now. I challenge anyone to send me some that are better, and I'll have to go back to the drawing board and do more work. But it took us a lot of time and effort to get them to taste actually good. I say they're greens you don't have to doctor. You don't have to make a cocktail with. Like, you don't have to actually throw in, a lot of people are like, well, I mix it with orange juice. Well, you mix it with orange juice because your greens taste like shit. Like that. You don't do it because it's better for you. Yeah. You do it because they don't taste good. So you shouldn't have to choke down your greens.
Right.
And, it's a badass formula. It has probiotics and, it's a really built formula. But at the end of the day, my biggest goal was make greens people look forward to.
Yeah. Well, I like greens that don't taste like dirt, man. That came across well with me. Yeah. You look forward to it, and you can add it, supplement. I mean, that's the idea. What do you call this product, by the way?
It's Jocko Greens.
Jocko Greens. Okay. Yep. So we got, you're obviously leveraging Jocko's brand as part of you guys. You are him, right? And that's important. Why? Why did you find you needed Jocko's brand or Jocko, or was it more something else? Was it just more jiu-jitsu, and all of a sudden we find out that we got a lot in common? I mean, which way did it go? Or is it different?
Another great question, because when he came on, we had a line of supplements that were Origin branded, and Origin is a great name, especially for supplements. So we were really torn, because we talked about, should we get behind it as a personal brand for Jocko, or should we maintain the Origin flow of things and the progression. And ultimately we went back and forth on a lot, and we talked about the pros and cons, right? Like, keeping it real, there's cons to naming a brand after an individual.
Yep.
Like, we could talk about all of those particular items, but there just are. But there's a lot of pros too. And with someone like him who has, and really what it boils down to is trust. And that's the reason why we moved forward with Jocko at the head of the brand. And it's because we didn't have a brand that we needed to get people to trust. People already trusted Jocko. And that's the reason why it had immediate success when we launched the products. Now the products stand alone now on their own, which is phenomenal. But in the early days, we were like, well, people have to trust what they're going to put in their body. And if they can trust the person that's standing behind them, which he has done, obviously a phenomenal job building his career to do so, then it's going to be an easy sell up front. And then we continue them on what we call the path with the quality products. So it's just like a 1-2 combo, and it made so much sense, and we moved forward with it, and we haven't looked back.
So who brought the idea? Did Jocko come to you and say, hey, I would love a food supplement business, or was it you going to him?
It was in combination. Like, we had already had, like I said, that niche brand, and we were talking about reinventing new products.
I see.
They were the products Jocko wanted to create. So I'm like, okay, well, there's these products he wants to create. Should we call them Jocko products and have them live on their own? Or should we make them origin products and have them talk about them? And we just decided, like, let's make Jocko's products. And in the early on, we were like, we're probably going to have 2 lines. We'll have origin products. We'll have Jocko products. But the Jocko products were so successful right out of the gate that we were like, we need to put our attention to this.
That's awesome. And what time frame are we talking? 2016 or later?
17.
2017. Okay.
Yep.
And now you and I, right before we went on, I asked you, hey, Brian, how can we make the best podcast for you and your company? Right. And first off, how can we do that? How can the audience, how can this be the best for them?
So, man, the whole team, our entire organization has been working tirelessly on this project, which is the Go energy drink. And it all started, and I'll briefly talk about that. It all started because, Jocko and Pete had teenage children at the time who, like, their friends are coming over with these energy drinks, and like seeing them, and then they want to be, they want to be cool, but at the same time, they're like, man, you're drinking poison. So it was a real simple conversation, that we had as partners. We were like, is there a way to make a healthy energy drink? Because it's kind of an oxymoron, right? It's like, you think energy drink, toxic, non-healthy, and versus a healthy energy drink. So I was like, well, let's peel out the layers, right? Let's peel it apart. So what are the things that aren't healthy about an energy drink? Well, excessive amounts of caffeine. Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't like chemical preservatives like potassium sorbate, sodium benzoate, especially mixed with citric acid. That's a whole wormhole we could go down. But like, a lot of people don't like those chemical preservatives. Artificial sweeteners, artificial flavors. That's just a couple of the things. So we just were like, okay, well, let's cut back on caffeine. Well, how do we make it just as efficacious? Let's bring in some nootropic ingredients from the supplement world that are shown to be healthy.
What's the word nootropic? I don't know what that means.
Okay, so nootropic ingredient means something that's going to boost cognitive performance.
Nice.
So something that's going to help with focus, alertness, mental clarity, memory, basically something that's going to help you. We think of the movie Limitless, right? We wish we had a limitless pill, right? That just helped us be smarter and be, awake all the time. And obviously that's not possible, but there are compounds that have been shown to help improve cognitive performance. And so we brought those in and reduced the amount of caffeine to like a healthy level, because caffeine in the right dose is actually quite a performance enhancer. But excessive amounts is not good. It's not good for our health. We know that now. So we brought those ingredients in to help with the
Hey, what
performance.
are, just give me a couple of those ingredients. I know they're on your package, but what are the ones that help cognitive?
For sure. Yeah. So theobromine, which is an extract from cocoa. So the active ingredient in dark chocolate, when your doctor says a little bit of dark chocolate's actually good for you, that's the chemical that he's actually talking about. It's similar to caffeine in structure, but it actually doesn't, unlike caffeine, instead of being vasoconstrictive, it's a dilator. So it actually increases your blood flow, increases blood flow to the brain. So not only does it allow for more oxygen and nutrients to access the brain, it actually helps counteract the negatives of the caffeine, like increased blood pressure and stuff. So that helps on that front. Of course,
what's it called again?
Theobromine.
Got it. Awesome. See, that's why I want a science. I want someone like you who knows not only the science behind it, but also how to apply it, because I think that's what makes you guys special. I mean, just looking at you, you've used this stuff and it makes you, like you said, there's certain things you can say and then they have to be, actually science-based and all that. But then there's what the customer says, which is, hey, I'm off this stuff and I'm not feeling as good. When I'm on it, I feel better. Right. So keep going. What else is the things that I should be taking? Anybody listening to this?
Absolutely. One of the key compounds, there's 500 milligrams of acetylcarnitine in every can. And carnitine is a phenomenal compound. And it's not just good for like energy and cognitive performance. It's great for overall, especially men's health. It's great for heart health. It's great for libido. It's really something that all men should be consuming more of if they're not getting it in their diet. Another key compound is theanine, and theanine is found predominantly in tea, and it's an amino acid that helps calm the brain, but it's not sedative. So it doesn't actually reduce your alertness state, but it when you get too much, I don't know how much caffeine you consume, but if you consume a ton of caffeine, you can get
I used to do a lot. I could do pots of coffee. I think I got that in my Navy days. I mean, that's just whatever it takes. You're drinking it nonstop. You got a night flight, boom, whatever. Now I've actually almost gone caffeine free from coffee. I still drink coffee, but I do more decaf. But I always put in a little bit because, like you said, a little bit feels good. It's just when I get too much in there, I personally don't feel the difference. But my wife and people around me go, "You're already got this energy going off the mountain, don't give us too much more." So anyhow.
Yeah. And that's the key. Like when most people, when they consume too much caffeine, they will get a little bit jittery or they'll get a little bit scrambled and they'll be like, okay, now I actually can't focus. Theanine counteracts those effects and it's predominantly found in tea. That's why if you're actually looking for the benefits of a product to get some caffeine, you're actually better off to do some like black tea or green tea because you get both of those compounds, caffeine and theanine. So let's
go back real quick because I don't want to lose this. What's the men's health one again? Where's that come from naturally, or what other foods? A gene, whatever you said, I can't even pronounce it.
Carnitine. Yeah, carnitine. And it's there's different types of carnitine, but Alcar or acetyl L-carnitine is the one that we use, but there's different forms. Carnitine you're going to find in meat. You're going to find in meat. You're going to find meat in higher quantities. I mean, the same thing goes for creatine. Like unless you're not eating a lot of meat, you're not going to get a lot of creatine. And creatine is super important as well for physical performance. So there's a couple other compounds in there, but Bacopa's in there for memory. Alpha GPC is in there to boost choline in the brain. So it really is a high performance formula to get your cognitive kind of pistons firing. Yeah.
So how are you guys going to market that? Because that's your big thing now, right? You're into the energy drink. I know you just hired that brand person. That's a space that's pretty crowded, but I think it is looking for that healthy side. I don't know anyone who's got that.
So we're to market it. That's a great question. We're finally at a point now where two things. One, we just initiated, and I'm super excited as the science nerd here. We just initiated a clinical study. So we're actually doing a clinical study to study the effects of GO. on the brain. So we're super excited for that. It's going to be a while before the results come out, but when they do, we'll be able to market that and make those claims officially.
Yep.
That said, we made a ultra healthy, high quality, efficacious product, and it didn't taste that good. And so we spent the last, now it's going on 9 months. Like we started like right before the new year, going down the rabbit hole of what we can do to reinvent ourselves from a flavor perspective. Because we had some, and it was a tough pill to swallow, but we had some key retailers that were like, you're doing something nobody else has done. You're hitting everything correct, but it doesn't taste that good. And we were like, and we could go back and say, yeah, they're wrong, or that's just an excuse. They just don't want to, put us in the planogram or whatever it is. And we could be complacent, or we could let our egos get in the way. And, that's just not our style. We were like, okay, if that's like, we have to be receptive to the feedback, and the feedback is we need to improve. So we went back to the drawing board and we redid every single flavor, all 8 flavors, and then launched the brand new flavor. And that's something we're super excited about. So
wow.
our retail partners, where the stuff was, our sales were good, but since it's been in store the new flavors have been in store for about a month, the lift has been incredible. So we're super excited that we did it, because it's been really good. And
I want to highlight 2 things you said that I think go well beyond energy drink. It goes into more about high performance. Is number 1, you said check your ego. It's not about ego, right? It's what I call the 4 pillars of high performance. One of them is check your ego at the door. Right? It's not that you don't have an ego. Of course, we all have egos, but it's the humility to do exactly what you just said. Look at it from not a pissed off standpoint and just the opposite, and go, okay, market's telling me something. My partners are telling me something. And then that complacency, we mentioned that earlier, right? It's so easy to drop into that complacency mode, whether you're flying jets 18 inches. Actually, that's when it's not. Okay. When you're flying 18 inches in a jet, it's real easy to not get complacent because you're scared shitless, right? And so you're on your edge. But at some point in our lives, complacency can kick in. So I'm really grateful you mentioned that. Because it's obviously how you run your business, right? And to me, that's super cool. Let's go. Let's jump up to a higher level real quick on even why are you using these products, and how do they fit into a high performance person, right? So we know that health is part of it. Exercise, jiu-jitsu, anything. What do you see from your side are the components for a healthy, high performance person?
Yeah. I think that we've created the line around need state basis. And what I mean is everything from maintenance, like our joint support product, yep, to like strength building products, like our protein and the pre-workouts to support like people working out, giving them the energy. Maybe it's even the kick in the ass they need. Whatever it is, like we've created need state products to help people, as we like to say, be better every single day. Like you just need to strive to be a little bit better every single day, and you're moving down the path the right way. And so we try and create products that serve those needs. Some people, they don't need a kick in the ass. They wake up every day fired up. And some people don't. Some people need that extra kick. They wake up, the first thing they're going to do is they're going to crack a go, and then they're going to be on their way and they feel ignited. So we make a little bit of something for everyone, but at the end of the day, it's all to move in that same direction, which is like being better, performing better every single day. And, we have foundational products and we have force multiplier products. And, it just depends on where they're at to help leverage that in their life.
Nice. Hey, how about, we did this earlier. I want to do it now. What's your morning routine? Now, we talked about, you could grab a go and fire you up, right? I'll share one of mine. And those of you watching, I'm going to do a headstand. I always invert my body. I find getting that energy to invert. So let's see if I can do this while we're talking.
That's awesome. That's great.
And
I love it.
So that's what I do in the morning. That's part of a morning wake up that involves gratitude, involves the mind and the body. What do you do? And how does your products help out in that?
So personally, I have tried a lot of things over the years. And so I'll tell you about what I do right now, because I've tried things that work and I've tried things that don't work. But I like to be a guinea pig so I can share those experiences with others.
Yeah.
My current routine, I wake up, I go downstairs pretty quickly. I don't like lay in bed or anything. I don't sit and scroll on my phone. Like I get up, go downstairs. I usually will consume, I'll wait a little bit. I try and let, there's a chemical in your body called adenosine. And that's actually the chemical that makes you feel tired. And caffeine attaches to the receptor and makes it so that you don't feel it anymore, but you still have it floating in your body. So if you can give your body like 20 or 30 minutes before consuming caffeine, that's better instead of just rushing right to the coffee pot. So
good tip.
Let that kind of process. So what I'll do is
same thing with tea. I mean, tea falls into the same. Okay. Got it.
Same exact thing. Yeah. The longer that you can hold off from some caffeine. So if that means getting up, 20 or 30 minutes earlier because you need to process that time in your day, then that's what you got to do. But so right now I'll go downstairs and I have my weight room area in my basement and my jiu-jitsu mats. And the one thing I've found is doing some, I wouldn't even call them calisthenics, but I'll do a lot of stretching, a lot of flowing. There's an art that was formed out of jiu-jitsu and yoga combined called Ginástica Natural. And it's a Brazilian art. It's incredible. Like it's like jiu-jitsu, if jiu-jitsu met yoga. So it's like yoga positioning, but like constant flow. So you'll actually like warm up and sweat. It's awesome. So I'll do some of that.
What's it called? Ginástica?
Yeah, Ginástica. I think it's Ginastica. Yeah.
Okay. Because I wanted, you're heading us right in the right direction is that, I have a flow in the morning too, that I actually combined with Qigong. So the combination of yoga and Qigong and a mental aspect of breathing and whatnot. Tell me real quick, because I'm not that clear on jiu-jitsu and I can't even say it right, but how does that fit in with Qigong versus, how should people think about these martial arts that they might not know about?
Yeah. So I typically don't train in the morning. I'll train at night. We do our night training at night or jiu-jitsu training at night. That's just the way our setup is. Some gyms have morning classes early, throughout the day. Jiu-jitsu is interesting because I like to call it human chess. Like you're in a uniform, you're going to grapple with people. Like that is like, if you're opposed to like touching people or hugging people or having people near you, it's not the sport for you. Although I'd say challenge yourself and get uncomfortable. If you really can't deal with it, it's not the sport for you. But it allows you to, I've never found anything like it in my life that will push you past your comfort zone like it. Like there's just nothing like it. When you have another human being, and this is what's great because you lose ego because you can't have an ego because it's just going to get destroyed on the mat. It's destroyed. Eventually you get better and you start to build confidence, which is different.
Yes.
But it will destroy a toxic ego. It's an incredible workout because it's challenging your brain significantly. And it's an endless art of like technique and defensive technique. It's incredible for rewiring the brain, the way you think about things. So when you get into a pressure position in business, instead of folding or going into like a panic attack or something, you're like, I've had a 265-pound man mounted on top of me trying to choke me till I tap out. This situation doesn't scare me.
Right.
Like this is just a situation that has to be dealt with. So I'm going to relax, prioritize and execute. Like it change, and so I would imagine situations for you in business and life, like don't compare to doing what you did behind, I guess I would say, the wheel of a jet. Like it doesn't compare. Like
the stick.
The stick. Thank you. Yeah. Like it doesn't compare to being behind the stick. So anything in life like that, like jiu-jitsu, where you're going to absolutely challenge yourself, Jiu-Jitsu special for me because it is super intense physically and mentally. And that's why I particularly love it.
Man, I love it. I used to be a wrestler in high school, and to me,
Yeah.
there was no tougher sport, even football, which I ended up liking better. But wrestling was tough. But the thing that added to the challenge of discipline of wrestling was cutting the weight. That was the worst part. I'm not a heavyweight like maybe you are, where it didn't matter. But tell me, how does jiu-jitsu and wrestling? Obviously, it sounds like you got a little bit more in jiu-jitsu, right?
Yeah. So jiu-jitsu is an interesting crossover. So the art originally came from Japan, and it came out of judo. So it was like judo met wrestling, and that's how it was kind of formed in Brazil. And we do just call it jiu-jitsu now, but it was formed in Brazil from the Gracie family. And it's interesting because it does start on the feet, but the majority of it is on the ground, and that's where it differs from judo and wrestling. It just like a lot of it is based on the ground. Like you can be on your back, like you can work. Actually, that's what makes jiu-jitsu is you're equally as dangerous on your back as you are being on top or standing.
Really?
So yes, because what we call the guard is when you're on your back and you have your legs around somebody and they can't just get up.
Yeah.
There's and it's not just in the uniform, because everybody typically has a shirt or a jacket or a collar. Like there's 1,000 ways to choke somebody to sleep with that particular uniform. So and same thing with clothing. So it's and it's great for women and children because it's all about leverage and technique more so than strength.
Oh, interesting.
I'd never wrestled in high school, but when I was coming up through jiu-jitsu, I did a lot of competing. I did some MMA, and I had to take on and learn the fundamentals of wrestling. And I will absolutely agree with you. Wrestling is one of the hardest physical things I've ever done. It's incredible. The workout is just absolutely massive, and cutting weight for competition is terrible. Spitting in bottles and chewing on ice and it's but it teaches you something. It leaves you with something, that's for sure.
That's the discipline.
So, yeah.
Wow.
Exactly.
Man, Brian or Mr. Big, we're going to get another call sign for you here on our debrief. We'll bring Sugar in and we'll debrief. This has been amazing to me. There's so many avenues we could go down. I kind of want to bring it home with this thought, and that is, where are you guys headed in this health energy space? Where does organics fit into this? Do organics matter? Let's go with that real quick, and then we'll get into where you're headed.
Absolutely. So I take a practical approach to everything, and that's why I try and also, like, a lot of our formulations and the product perspective it's an extension of Jocko, of course, but it's an extension of myself. And I have a very strong opinion on organics. And I think when someone can get an organic piece of produce, I think they should do that. I think that, I think it's a good thing. But to kind of, how do I put it? I don't go down the trend of, how do I put it? I'm trying to think of the best way to say it. Like, I don't shame things. I'm not going to shame things. Like, so for instance, for someone who's eating McDonald's or going through the drive-thru every day, do I think they need to struggle to find organic foods? No, you just need to eat healthier. Like, right. Focus on that first. So if you have organic, get organic. But organic foods still use pesticides. They just have to use natural pesticides. But as we know, just because something is natural doesn't necessarily make it healthy. Like, poison ivy is natural. Arsenic is natural. Lead is natural, so you just be aware and focus on those things. For instance, in our greens product, all the fruits and vegetables are organic. We thought that was very important. Yeah. But in some of our other formulas, and for instance, like with some of our dairy-based products, like, is it important that the cows grazed on natural grass and like they're grass fed, and that was important to us. So we don't want to take it down a path where people kind of go crazy with it. So that's my perspective on organic. But Yeah. So you asked where we're taking it.
Right.
Everywhere we can go. Like everywhere we can go. Like we want to touch as many people as possible because we believe we're doing something different and better for people. And that's where we want to go. So
nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Glad to be here. You know, by the way, we sent you that swag box. I know you just got it, right?
Yes.
Glad to be here. For us is not only our brand, like Jocko Fuel is for you, which is awesome. But it really is a deep meaning, you know, I like to say the combination of excellence, whether that's operational excellence, whether it's excellence in jiu-jitsu, with, you know, excellence in business, with this appreciation and gratitude, this purpose higher than self, this idea of what you just said, making a difference in people's lives. And when you combine those two, I think you get something very special, which is what I heard you saying is one of your, what your vision and mission is. But what does glad to be here mean to you when you just hear the words or after this beautiful time together?
To me, I mean, without knowing, when I read glad to be here, I mean, it's like, life is a blessing.
Yes.
And like everyone should wake up every day and do everything they can to better themselves and the people around them. And like we have a slogan. It's funny. Like we have a slogan that's very much aligned with that. And we hang it on giant banners in our factories on the other side of the business and at Jocko Fuel. And it came from a very close company friend of ours, JP Donnell. It says, we get to do this.
Yes.
And we live into that every single day. Like whether it's, you know, shipping packages, building spreadsheets, sewing gis together, building, you know, American made boots, like we get to do this because it is an honor. You know, we through and through the culture, throughout the organization, we love what we do. We're trying to better people's lives and build the community around here as well. So it very much aligns with our, you know, one of our major visions and missions as well.
I love that. We get to do this. That's absolutely it. Absolutely. Got it. Last question I have for you is, you've got so many lessons that you've learned through your life, whether it's with your supplements and what you're trying to do there, whether it's with your exercise, jiu-jitsu and what you're trying to do there. There's so many great wisdom teachings out there. Do you have a certain, and maybe it's more than one, I'm sure you have more than one, certain motto, mantra, lesson that you learned in your life that you feel is your guiding light or something that has helped you?
Yeah, it's such a hard one. I don't know if
there's a ton of them.
Yeah, there's so many. I would say one of which for me is and we hear this often, but it was super powerful for me, was surround yourself with the people that you want to be. Like that was super important. Like if you look around and you're not aspiring to be the people you're with, you're in the wrong group. Like you're just not in the wrong group. You're not in the right group. And because they're, you know, it's not their job to lift you up, but you certainly can't lift yourself up to their level if you're having to like go down to theirs. So that to me was, for personal growth, it was important I surrounded myself with high performers that, I mean, I have to constantly check myself. Like I would like to consider myself a high performer. And like when I look at what Jocko does or Pete or a lot of the guys in our network, I'm like, man, I got to keep pushing every day because I'm trying to not let these guys outwork me, even though they do. It's just like, I have to keep pushing. So, that's super important. Yeah, I mean, that's yeah.
You know, you did it. And I think more importantly, what was powerful about that is that's exactly what you're doing, surrounding yourself with that network and the people who you want to be. And we're all growing together, right? That to me is the essence of a Blue Angel, a Navy SEAL, or in your case, Jocko Fuel, right? I mean, That's beautiful. So thank you for that. That helped me, and I'm sure it helped everyone else. Hey, how can people, hopefully they're listening to this and they're going, holy crap, I gotta get some of these products. I gotta get going towards that direction. I know I am. Where can people go? What's the best way for people to engage?
Absolutely. So our website's jockofuel.com. That's the quickest way to get it. And, you can find a lot of our products on Amazon as well. If you're near one of our many retailers, which if you want to find out, you can go to our website. We do have a retail locator. So you just punch in your address and it'll tell you where the closest store is, where you can get our stuff. But those are the spots. Yeah. And
Nice.
we'd love the support. I appreciate it.
Hey, Brian, when we get together in a year or two, because I'm going to have you back. There's too much goodness here, and maybe we'll see each other on the road too. There's a real connection here that I feel. What am I going to see? We'll high five or hug. Actually, I'm a big hugger. And what am I going to see?
Man, I hope you see our presence. I hope between now and then, I hope you see our presence. I hope, you get to, when you go into wherever you do your shopping and you see our products and our messaging and us just connecting, and also our community, as our community expands, our community outreach expands into like our people that are on the path. It's a viral movement of people just trying to make people better. So I'm hoping you run into a lot more people on that path between now and then.
Absolutely. And hopefully we can help be an ambassador for you. Love what you're doing, man. All right. Thanks for being on the show, buddy.
Thanks for having me.
Glad to be here, Brian.
Awesome.